Hi, my name's Shawn Flanagan. I'm with the Election Integrity Project of Nueces County. And I want to, I'd apply, yeah. I want to thank Brother Robert and the Annabelle Baptist Church for putting on this event. This is the first of what we hope is a series of events, so hopefully we're going to do a good job tonight. The format is we have three subjects: election integrity, education, and race. On each subject, this is not a debate, but each subject will have a secular speaker followed by a religiously orientated speaker, because we want to talk about what are the different options for policy in the public forum and which is the most Christian option that's in accord with biblical principles. At the end of it, once we all got it, now we're supposed to stay to 10 minutes speaking, so we're not here all night. I know I can count on my EIP folks, keep a clock on us out there. Don't start mine yet, I ain't started yet. But the deal is when we get done, all six of us are done, then we'll sit down and we'll do a question and answer period if we've raised some issues or you got some thoughts or questions you want to share. Okay, you can start my 10 minutes now. Okay, listen, I hope tonight y'all came to open your ears, and more than that, to open your hearts. Because we need your hearts open, because we need stout, courageous hearts. Because I tell you folks, we are living in a situation where a lot of the population believes we have entered into a post-Christian nation in the United States. And this is untenable. Our entire history of our country has been based upon Judeo-Christian morality and biblical values. Without that, our country, our republic fails. And to get into the election integrity part, and the reason our group exists, in 2020 election, we had an epic fail. There was major irregularities, and whether or not all of them were true or not, what is true is they were never adjudicated. The institutions of our country that was supposed to protect us from this situation ever arising, the courts, the legislatures, the bureaucracies, failed to adjudicate this. All of the court cases were dismissed on technicalities. The merits of the cases were never heard. This deeply offended me and many other folks. So we started this group called the Election Integrity Project in Nueces County. We started with 4 back in January. We're up to about 140. And what we have in common is we want to do something about the situation that happened in 2020 so it never happens again. So when we did that, we said, well, we want to be effective. We just don't want to make an empty statement or gesture. We want to see how we can be effective. So we felt like in the local arena, in Nueces County, in the state arena, we would have a chance to make our voices heard and possibly have an effect. Then we did some research. We read what is all the election laws that exist in the state of Texas. We talked to the folks in Nueces County. What are the procedures? We've got people in the group that have worked many elections as clerks and judges. As a result of that, we decided to go into 3 areas of operation. Legislatively, we've gone up and we've talked to legislatures. We've analyzed. One of our young ladies here, Donna, raise your hand for a minute. Donna right here did an analysis of the omnibus SB 7 bills that are election integrity that every single person on that committee, 5 senators, 5 representatives, are using to analyze that bill that came directly out of our committee. Kim, who's sitting next to us, is head of our legislative committee. She led 9 trips up to Austin. Those folks up there know who we are and they respond to what we're doing. But that's not enough. We've got an education committee. Barbara right here is the chief of the education committee. Our education committee is designed to get everybody in the group to become an election worker of some sort, a clerk, a judge, an observer, because if we have the best laws in the world, but we don't have people that know what the laws are, that aren't willing to do something about it when they see the laws are violated, it doesn't matter what the laws are then, does it? So that's our second portion. Our third portion is to reach out to the public to make the public aware of what's happening in our elections. A lot of people are hugely unaware of this, because this doesn't show up much on the regular media. The fake media, or whatever you want to call it, doesn't cover this issue too much anymore. As a matter of fact, they smother it. Now, the people who believe in a post-Christian America, a one where God is dead, there's no morality, anything goes, the ends justifies the means, and they will stop at nothing, and they don't believe in the concept of one man or one person, one vote. They believe in a person voting 1,000 times if they need to get the job done for them. Now, they tell two lies in their policy, in their narrative, because there's a counter-narrative to what I've talked about. I'm talking about election integrity, talking about free and fair elections. We're talking about making voting easy but cheating hard. I would think everybody's in favor of that, but a lot of folks aren't. Their first thing they say, and this is the most despicable thing they say if you disagree with our position, if you try to pass election integrity laws, you're a racist. You're trying to put down those poor folks of color. Well, let me tell you something. Being married to an African-American woman, spending my life as a track coach for 40 years dealing with people of all flavors, the deal is competence what it's about. And if you pass a law that is neutral, that mentions no race, no ethnicity, that privileges no one, and you're going to sit back and tell me that's racist? No, you, sir, you are the person with a racial problem. You are the person that regards people of different colors as inferior to certain colors. That's the problem, and that's a very big lie they're telling. The second big lie they're telling is even easier to knock down. They say, well, there wasn't any election fraud in 2020. That's a myth. Or if there was, it was one or two isolated incidents. Hey, we got the goods. Out here, we've got a little setup. The ladies have set up a desk or a table out there, and you can look at this list, this piece of paper list, 9 major problems with the voter rolls in Texas prior to the 2020 election. Let me just bring your attention to one of them. If you register for a license in Texas, you can get a license if you're a non-citizen. 2019, there was 95,000 non-citizens that registered for license, also registered to vote. 58,000 of them voted. That's a problem, I think. Even beyond that, in the 5 years up until 2020, the state attorney general prosecuted fewer than 30 election fraud cases a year. In 2020, they have 507 open cases. That's not 507 votes. That's tens and tens of thousands of votes. San Antonio, one lady got caught trying to sell 7,000 votes she ballot harvested to the highest bidder. Fella up in Wichita Falls, 893 people voted from his single occupancy residency in the 2020 election. You know what he did? He put up a website online, say, if you want to vote in Texas, you can use my address. Here's the forms you need to use to vote. They caught that rascal and they're prosecuting him. The city of Houston was donated about $10 million by Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook. With that money, they instituted illegal 24-hour voting. They instituted drive-through voting illegal. They mailed or tried to mail 2 million absentee forms to about 95% of that 2 million should never have gotten them. They bought new voting machines. They put twice as many in one party's areas as they did in the other party's areas. There was widespread abuse and fraud in the state of Texas in 2020, and anybody who tells you differently is lying. Okay. So what are we doing about that? What we are doing about it, we've sponsored legislation, and this week there's been several bills passed. Here is what has passed or is in the process of being passed. No outside money, no more Zuckerberg bucks allowed in the state of Texas. You cannot do it. Okay. Nobody but the state legislature can change election laws. Our county judge, the Harris County judge, they cannot change election law. If they do that under the new laws going through, they will have committed a crime. No ballot harvesting. It's defined, outlined, and made to have felony complications if you voter gather or ballot harvest, which is one of the big areas of fraud. You're required to have an audit trail of paper ballots when you vote. You can't just have a computer printout. There's got to be some paper involved in it. That's going through. All counties, there's 254 counties in Texas. All of them, twice a year, are required to update their voter rolls to get rid of the stuff that's on this sheet. And now they have to report to the Secretary of State twice a year, get rid of the dead folks, get rid of the people who are not eligible to vote, get rid of the people who moved out of town. There is wording in their legislation to protect poll workers. What happened the last election, if you had a judge of one party or the other and he didn't want the poll watchers watching what was going on, he'd get rid of them, kick them out. He had the power to do that. That's been changed. The legislation is going forward, defines clearly what they can and cannot do. An election judge no longer has carte blanche to get rid of folks he doesn't like watching the election. Also, they have speedy adjudication. If you've got a voter fraud claim, before it took forever, and you saw what happened in 2020, it's like, well, before the election, well, you know, you can't adjudicate that because no harm's been done. And then after the election, it's like, well, okay, well, the election's over, sorry, you know, you waited too long. Catch it if you can, catch it if you can't. Under the new legislation going through, a lot of this is in what we call Senate Bill 7. That's going, hopefully, it's in conference committee right now. They only got about 5 days left. And we have been promised by our sources up there, this is going to go through. The governor is committed to this, the speaker and the lieutenant governor is committed to this, so we're optimistic good things are going to happen. But here's the deal. When we started in January, none of us in the group knew anything about this, okay? We now know. We need you to join us in doing this. We need you to come forward and to step up. You got to be stouts of hearts. Remember Daniel got rescued by God from the lion's den in the Bible? Remember that story? All right, well, before Daniel got rescued, he got put in the lion's den. And why did he get put into it? Because he refused to follow the government. He followed God. That's what we need you all to do. Join us. There's sign-up tables out there for us and other groups. Thank you very much.